G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you, and our guest today is Andreas Brekken, CEO and founder of SideShift.ai. It's the consumer-centric, privacy-focused, interoperable Layer 1 exchange. Andreas spent 2 years working at Kraken as an engineer and founded JustCoin.com back in 2013. He's a serial entrepreneur and crypto veteran. He's seen the good, the bad, and the funny side of crypto over the past decade, and he's seen just how much crypto has or hasn't changed in that time. We're excited to discuss his experiences and his thoughts on this year's meme coin hype cycles. So let's dive into our conversation with Andreas Brekken. How did you get started in Web3? Tell us a little bit about your origin story. How did you end up in this wild world?
Yeah, that's the question that makes me feel a bit old here, because I got started when there was no Web3. There was only Bitcoin back in the day. Mm-hmm. I got introduced to Bitcoin, and I think I heard about it in 2011, and then I got really into it in 2012. Really into it as I found a way to buy some, which was very difficult at the time.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things that as soon as you hold some crypto, then you want to start learning, right? So it's a proper route. First you become a bag holder, and then you have to learn about your bags. So that's what happened to me. And I'm a programmer, so very, very soon after finding out about Bitcoin, installing the wallet, which was just called Bitcoin, on the desktop, I started wondering, how do I automate this wallet? Like, how do I use this to make some kind of a service where Bitcoin is accepted as payment? And I think, like almost everybody back then in those early days, it's like, I need to make a casino. That's what everybody was doing because there was nothing else.
Yeah.
So I experimented with a bunch of different stuff like that, but eventually I settled on making an exchange, which would have been in maybe 2014. So, and I've been in the exchange space ever since. In the beginning, I was running an exchange called JustCoin, which was a traditional exchange like today's the Krakens and the Binances and so on, where there's fiat currencies and there's and you swap the coins for the fiat currencies, and there's deposit and withdrawals from the bank and all this. And it was working really well, had a lot of success with that business. But honestly, dealing with banks was a nightmare even back then. And this was a time when the banks didn't even know what Bitcoin was. But even then, it's really, really bad. Dealing with banks is very troublesome, and it consumes your business. So all that time you were spending on making new products, on making cool features, on helping your users, that is now dealing with the bank. That's what you're doing, right? So, so I sold that business, and got an email from Jesse Powell, who was the CEO of Kraken,
yep.
Asking if the business was still for sale. I said, sorry, you missed it. He had been busy with bankruptcy of an exchange called Mt. Gox at the time. So I said, okay, damn. But okay, what about you move to San Francisco and come work for Kraken? And I accepted immediately. I think we talked on the phone for 8 minutes. From saying hello to I'm moving to
far out
to San Francisco. And I had a great 2 years there. Worked at Kraken. Jesse is a very, very, very inspiring leader and a visionary in this space with all the right ideals, morals, I would say. And and after that, I decided to go on my own again. And I met an exchange that is digital only, no fiat, no banking, no checks, no ACH, which is called SideShift.
So can you tell us about the genesis of SideShift coming out from Kraken, which at the time, and probably still now, in terms of like legitimacy, that'd be one of the main legitimate exchanges in the world.
Yeah.
Talking about, different
Absolutely.
like this. How do you come out, you did the 8 minute from taking the call to going over to San Francisco, and then coming out from Kraken. What made you go, you know what? This space still needs don't want to have to deal with the banks, just want to deal with this side, the crypto side. In terms of your thinking, what made you go? Was it the opportunity? Was it that's just what you knew and what you were good at? And so you're pursuing, building upon your passion piece, or how'd you end up actually pulling the trigger on SideShift?
Yeah. While I was working at Kraken, it was a very small company, so we were all hanging out every day. It was 10 people maybe. Yeah. And so I spent a lot of time talking to Jesse, mostly walking around getting coffees, which is what you do in San Francisco if you have a startup. And he mentioned several times, which everyone in the space has realized, that he too was kind of wishing that they didn't have fiat, that it was very, very troublesome. This is a long time ago, and they've made huge advances in this. Today Kraken has a bank charter, I believe, in Wyoming or something, and many of these things. But like I said, it consumes the business quite a lot, and I think he was feeling that. But he, unlike me, he felt that it was a different time also, and he had the scale and the support and the investors to just carry on, to fight for that position. So this thought of going digital only is a thought that a lot of people have had. I think basically everyone working in an exchange business, because of the frustration, because we're here to change the world and to be part of this, creating this new paradigm, where it's all just on your phone and it's international, this. But then when you come back to it, when you come down to integrating with the legacy financial system, you find yourself dealing with all the same things. So that was one part of it that's always been on my mind. I will never accept fiat in the business I work in again.
All right. Is that a logical position or a practical, like regulatory?
Absolutely practical. We can deal with fiat. There's a UCT. It's basically the same thing, but you just don't have to log into these boomer websites and have them call you all the time asking these strange things, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but back to the origin of SideShift. The origin is actually a lot more about the tech, because the name SideShift is the word shift, as in swap or to change something, for side chains. So SideShift is a hobby project that I made, where it would be easier for people to send coins between L2s and L1s. So the use case I was exploring was a project called DriveChain, which is developed by someone called Paul Stortz of a company called Layer 2 Labs. And without getting too much into side chains and why withdrawals are slow from a side chain to a main chain and so on, I had the idea that instead of the user having to wait for a long time to withdraw funds from a side chain back to the main chain, I would provide a service where we would charge you some nominal fee, and you would be able to move the coins from the side chain to the main chain instantaneously, because we would do the waiting for you. We would do stand in this withdrawal queue for you and take on some risk, but also charge you for it. So that was the product. SideShift is a way to shift between side chains. But I quickly realized that I could make an exchange a lot quicker than people can make side chains. So I was already finished and nothing, but there were no side chains on mainnet. So I figured, okay, I'll just add BTC as an option. And it's like, okay, I'll add Litecoin. Okay, I'll add Ether. I can add XRP. I can add, and suddenly, you're sitting there with 200 coins and a lot of users. So that is the origin story. It was a hobby project that I was only sharing with people I knew from Telegram groups and developers, but they just kept pouring in, and suddenly you get yourself a startup with a team of engineers, and you're back.
Yeah, man, that's cool. And how are you finding it as it's scaling and users are coming on board and people are adopting? How are you finding that USP of, we'll do the waiting for you? How has that been going and scaling?
Amazing, because we, while we were developing the product and while we were getting traction, suddenly side chains and layer twos became like the biggest thing, and bridging. So suddenly people start saying like, oh, I love SideShift. I use it as a bridge all the time. And I'm talking to my team. I'm like, wait, we're a bridge now? Oh, of course we are, because you can send USDT using SideShift to like, I'm sure it's like 10, 15 different chains. So of course we are. And not only that, you can send anything, you can swap anything to anything on SideShift. You can swap your Trump, Solana meme coins to tether gold, which is like gold in a vault. So you can do some really obscure swaps with us because we support everything. So the timing was the timing and the scaling and everything was absolutely amazing. I have to attribute a lot of it to luck, but then there's also, I think it's a matter of being interested in technology to the point where you end up in the right place at the right time.
Well, yeah, you were prepared. Absolutely. So saw it coming, built it. It happened. You were ready. Yeah.
Yes.
How are you finding? So you obviously, because of not just your background and being, pretty OG, but also now having a look over, like I said, hundreds of coins and lots and lots of users, you get you've got a really unique, maybe certainly kind of privileged overview of the market and what's happening and where we're at. And for the last, maybe this year, shall we say, that it has been, I haven't been in Web3 world as long as you, or crypto world, certainly before the Web3 was really Web3. But this is one of the wildest kind of ups and downs in terms of market sentiment that I've seen, where the BTC is still king, obviously, but meme coins seem to be like the thing that people are putting their trust in, because they're the things that are consistently, and I say that with a giant asterisk, consistently, you might say, there are meme coins that are doing really well. How do you find that works from the exchange side? Is that just a pure volume thing? Are you trying to trace the trends in that regard? How are you viewing the meme coin hype cycle, for example?
Yeah, for us, listing a meme coin is quite easy. It doesn't take as much time, but it takes sometimes a little time. Got to find the logo. When we were listing the Trump political token, we got to get the coin icon with the correct hairline, that he likes. Yeah. And of course, we have to be fair. So we're going to try to list a Biden or Bolden for every Trump, of course. And that it's easy for us to list. So we try to follow the trends. And we try to ask the question, is this going to stay? Is this going to stick around for, a year or more would be best, but say a few months. So we do make an evaluation of that is purely subjective on what we're going to add. Because you get things like the political coins, I think, are going to stick around until the election in America, which I think is in November or something, maybe a bit longer. So that's good enough. But then you have you got like this female celebrity has a coin called Mother. And that was a debate. Do we list this or not? She's obviously a marketing genius, and I think it's got staying power, but for how long? So we just make this evaluation, and I try to err on the side of listing too much. But that's what we're doing. And I don't think we have, honestly, I don't think we have a unique view into this at all. I think you would know more about the trends from watching Deck Screener than if you're working at an exchange.
What about just in terms of maybe on the ideological side of things then, how do you view meme coins? Obviously, I think they are, they in some sense keep the industry moving, but man, they are very polarizing. And some people are making a lot of money. Some people are getting very ripped off. Can you speak to meme coins? Like, are there? Are they a net good for blockchain / cryptocurrency / Web3? What are the technological consequences of meme coin hype cycles? How are you viewing that? Maybe personally, if you don't want to speak on behalf of the company as such. How do you view it?
Yeah. Well, for the company, it's very easy. The company is agnostic. It's it's a business, and it gives the users what they want, with some slight exceptions. If the users want coins that have maybe very offensive names, we'll not do it for the best of the long term of the business. But in most cases, whatever the user wants, that's what they're gonna have. I think the technology of some chains is better than of others, but that's up to the user to decide. If it's possible to list something, we'll list it. And so that's like the business technology side, right? It's very, very practical, completely agnostic. And for meme coins, I see there's a few different camps on this. I think they're quite pessimistic people. I think they're often maybe the traders will say maybe meme coins are bad because they have no utility that they can see. And some people go as far as saying meme coins are good because nothing has utility, so at least we'll be honest, which is the view I heard. I think it was somebody on the Steady Lads podcast on YouTube, which is excellent, by the way. And I have a very different view. I have the same view as Mr. Is it Ferreira, in charge of the Solana, some strategy in the Solana Foundation, I believe, which is, this is completely harmless. This is just, most meme coin users, they're like me, which is, I have a wallet. Actually, I have multiple wallets on my phone. I got like Phantom, I got Backpack, Soulflare, all this stuff. And I will sit around with my friends at a restaurant or at somebody's house having a drink, and somebody's like, "Oh man, did you check out this coin from this and that?" Or like, "What do you think happened if with the Bowden coin if Trump wins?" And we sit around and we're like, "Okay, I'll buy $50 of this thing. I'll rotate my whiff into mother," and these kind of things. We're having a great time. This is, I think, is way better than sports betting. This is much more fun, in my opinion, and we also get the added benefit that when we're trading, when we're swapping these coins, we're using the same wallet and the same exchange technology that is being used on these chains, especially Solana, as if we were trading any other asset, as if you were trading USDT and all this, because on the decentralized perpetuals trading platform or whatever you're using, it doesn't know if you're trading a meme coin or you're hedging your gold position against USDT. It doesn't know that. It's all the same. So this massive pressure and throughput we're putting on the network is a giant stress test of this technology, and has put the chains, especially Solana and some Ethereum L2s, into this arms race of who can make the faster, more responsive, more reliable chain, perpetuals exchange, swap. I mean, you have aggregators like Jupiter on Solana, which just in a matter of, I think, months, have added features like DCA, which means buying slowly over time, using a smart contract. So it's non-custodial. They've added that, and it's super advanced. And they've added like ways to scale into different positions and limit orders, even on swaps. This has been added, I think, largely because there has been demand for new features from the meme coin traders. And this is real cutting edge tech that is being developed for this kind of silly use case. But the tech is real, and the throughput is real, and the action is real. So I think this is a huge positive for the space.
Yeah, man. So at absolute worst, it is fun entertainment. But the positive case for it is it's actually driving technological advances that'll help in other areas as well that aren't just entertainment focused. That's a good perspective.
Mm. Yeah, I mentioned it. I believe it's in perhaps Austin Ferrara or something in the Solana Foundation. I saw him say this at a talk or an interview or something, and I thought this is exactly what I think. Harmless fun drives technology. I love it. Yeah, we shouldn't we shouldn't be so scared not to be taken seriously. We don't need that. We have the technology. This is a real completely groundbreaking technology we're working with. We don't have to act in a certain way for people to observe us in a certain way and be taken serious or not. Don't worry about that. The tech speaks for itself.
Does that fit into your philosophy of we're not going to deal with the banks, we're not going to have fiat rails, we're actually building something that will potentially replace the old way of doing money? Is that part of that in your way of thinking?
I mean, it's certainly become part of it. That I didn't know you could have this much fun developing this technology. That's it's maybe not true. Bitcoin in the beginning was also extremely lighthearted. Most things I was utilizing Bitcoin were very silly, very, very silly use cases in the beginning because people are silly. They like to play around with technology. So I think this lightheartedness, the silliness, and the willingness to explore and experiment might be part of the crypto DNA from the beginning.
Yeah, gotcha. Man, I was a friend of mine was telling me a story of back in the olden days of Bitcoin, where he and his mates would just have this kind of, when someone would say something funny, or if they won a hand of poker or whatever, they would just tip each other 20 Bitcoin, or someone said something or drank the fastest or whatever it is. They just had this kind of, rotating, stupid little thing where that was how they were basically keeping track of who was adding to their social network, really, personally. Mm-hmm. And just to think about, go ahead 10, 14, maybe years from then, what those, the value of those, the Bitcoin just rolling around frivolously would be cool. Oh man, what are you thinking about? Because you're dealing with a lot of side chains. At what stage are there too many side chains? At what stage are there too many L1s even or L2s? Is it just if you build it and you provide value and you can bring your own user base, then we could have it unlimited, technically unlimited number? Or is there a point at which liquidity becomes difficult, users become difficult? People don't want to have 1,000 wallets or even one wallet to try to track what's going on where, or all those kinds of things. What do you think about the saturation of L1s, L2s, sidechains, etc.?
Yeah, I know this has become almost a bit of a marketing point for Solana, that they do not have sidechains and do not need sidechains, and it's become a bit of a concern for DeFi users, and I think platforms as well, on Ethereum and its layer 2s and EVMs, that there is, I don't know what we should call it. Should we call it like the TVL is being broken up too much, perhaps? And also the activity maybe, because we have Optimism and Arbitrum, and Arbitrum for some reason has like 3 different Arbitrums. And there's ZK Sync and ZK Sync Era, which I believe just did an airdrop of some type, and countless others. Oh, Base, which is the could we say more corporate layer 2 from Coinbase, and Yeah, and many others. So it's a bit hard to say because a lot of the activity on DeFi activity on Ethereum, from I guess the smaller sized retail, may have either gone on summer holiday or leaked a bit into the Solana memecoin trading.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to think that on DeFi, I mean, you have a few different core products. So you have definitely the lending markets were always the biggest. There's also Spark, which is DAI, and a few others. And I do think that it cannot be good if the deposits and borrows on Aave or Spark are spread across too many chains.
Sure.
That doesn't seem efficient to me. And again, on swapping coins on liquidity pools like Uniswap and many others, it being spread across too many chains also doesn't seem very good to me. So I think that's a bit of an issue, and it's definitely solvable because it should be possible to use collateral from one chain, or even perhaps liquidity from one chain on another. So I should be able to borrow on Arbitrum with the collateral divided across Optimism, Arbitrum, and Ethereum. If you have some kind of messaging between the chains, where there's a few different actors, I know layer 0 is a very big one. So the technology is possible, but because of the nature of blockchains, it comes at a cost, and the cost is a risk of the chains misbehaving and communications breaking down. So I guess the collateral value would be much lower. So I really don't know. So it does seem like a negative to me, but we happen to be in a space where every time we think we have this like unsurmountable problem, it just magically is fixed and forgotten next year. So I don't worry about this thing. So I don't have a worry like, well, the fees on Ethereum are too high, so we just like pack it up. There's no more DeFi now because you have to pay $50 for a swap. That is completely forgotten now.
Yeah.
And then we got the layer 2s. Start using the layer 2s, and people say, oh yeah, well, on Arbitrum when it's busy, you still have to pay $2. So we're done with layer 2s, pack it up. And then they made the blobs on Ethereum, and suddenly the fees are sub-cent. You can't even do the math anymore. Yeah. So I don't worry too much about these things long term. And I think the short term, it's more of a concern of people who are trading very actively. The DeFi whales, like like His Excellency Justin Sun, who's on all the chains. I think it matters a lot to them.
Yeah.
But I think for us, regular, smaller time DeFi players, I'm sure it's totally fine and will solve itself just with speed and cross-chain collateral. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of exciting innovation. Maybe we can even, it must be possible to use your coins on Ethereum as collateral for a perpetual position on Solana, right? It must be possible.
Sure.
It doesn't exist yet, but why not?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Find some way to interface, communicate between the two.
Absolutely.
And providing a service similar maybe to even to what you're doing in a different kind of way, where you're bearing some of the burden maybe of the user in terms of the waiting.
Oh.
Maybe they, something else could bear the burden of doing the, collateral collecting, bridging, etc. Okay, like you say, it must be done. But where do you think we are then in terms of, we've had DeFi summer a couple of years ago, and we had big bear market, and then had a fairly decent rally, all-time high, and then a very quick dip, back down. Where do you think we are in terms of, are we going to see a DeFi summer this year? Is it just going to be more of the same? Do you have an inkling on that? Any alpha you can share about people? Should we be excited about where we're at? Are we on that S curve of the bull run is going to continue, or are we going to come back down into bear? What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, I was so bullish when Bitcoin was like 20K after this most recent bear market, right? So when there was a recovery to like 20-ish K, I was so bullish. I printed t-shirt. I said that if we make it to 25K, there's a bull market. I promise all of you. And I was so sure of this that as soon as we hit 25K on Bitcoin USD on like Bitfinex or something, I printed t-shirts, loads of them, where it said, "We are so back, 25K," and the date.
That's great.
And I sent it to loads of people in the industry. So I've been super bullish since then. And not many people are. They were like, "Oh, it's a slow crawl in the 30Ks," and then it was the fourth, all this stuff, right? So I've been super bullish, and I still am. This is very time sensitive. By the time this podcast will be out, the world will be completely different, even if it's just hours. But I was looking at it this morning, and there's this sentiment indicator that I like called alternative.me. They have something they call the fear and greed like gauge meter. And today it was at 30 of 100, where 0 is the worst.
Yeah.
So it's extreme negativity. People are just they don't know what to do with themselves. And I looked it up. That's the worst the sentiment has been since September 2023, which only lasted for one day. It was one day. It was that bad. And before that, it was January 2023. So I looked at that and I thought, wow, things must be really bad. And I opened up CoinGecko, and the price was 18% lower than the all-time high of Bitcoin. Yeah. I cannot believe this is like how weak people have become, that you're 18% of the all-time high, and you're like, okay, pack it up, boys. This project Bitcoin had a good run. We had an amazing 14 years, but not. So I completely disagree with this. So I'm just sitting around looking around me. I'm like, what can I sell? Can I sell my desk to buy more coins? Do I have any more collateral? That's where I'm at. So I'm super bullish. I think we're in a bit of a summer slump in the bull market, which I'm sure happens all the time. I mean, in Europe, nobody's sitting around trading in June. You crazy? No, this is a time to enjoy, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm sure the bull market will resume shortly, which means we're still in the bull market. We're just in like a summer lull, and I'm sure by Christmas the mania will be so strong that that you can look back on this podcast recording and it will feel completely foreign to you. I'd be like, what was that about?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, can you believe it? There's this massive, I hate to keep mentioning it, but it's a big deal, the presidential election in America, and the candidate who's by far the front runner, he's like 57% to win on Polymarket with number 2 at like 30 something. He's like going at rallies talking about Bitcoin and crypto. I saw it. I cannot believe it. This is where this mass adoption people have been talking about forever. I mean, how is this not mass adoption? Coinbase has like millions and millions of users. You can barely go to a coffee shop anymore without somebody sitting there, trading meme coins on their phone. Mm-hmm. So I'm super, super bullish. Now, like I was when we hit 25K.
Okay. I mean, that's good. That's a very positive outlook. Do you think the crypto markets have synchronized with TradFi markets a little bit in terms of their ups and the downs and what macro indicators affect the markets and those kinds of things? Or do you think we're still running parallel?
I have no idea. If we sync up even just Bitcoin, that would be extremely depressing, because every time somebody's like CPI and the consumer index, this and that, and like, like instead of saying, if we go from being excited when a new retailer online accepts Bitcoin to being excited when they sold like 3% more cars in India, or like some other macro number, I think that would be very sad. But perhaps that is even, is that like a side effect of mass adoption? I don't really know. Like, do all risk assets and tech stocks move together and affect it the same way? It could be. And
It probably depends who's in those markets. So when you get more mass adoption, or the more things get adopted by people who are used to operating in traditional markets, surely the more the traditional market mindset is going to infiltrate and affect the crypto markets.
Yeah, but isn't that like negative alpha then? Shouldn't you just do the opposite? If they're forcing,
exactly right.
If they're forcing this correlation on us, where if somebody's like completely addicted to this CPI printing, whatever Federal Reserve meeting nonsense, yeah, maybe it's time to look in the other direction. But I mean, one thing I do understand, which is people have real lives with savings, and they have expenses and kids in school and a car that needs to go to the mechanic. So when the macro is really bad, inflation is up and unemployment is up, and you're feeling a bit scared, and you're and the stock market is down and so on, I do understand that people do have to liquidate their assets for completely practical reasons.
Yeah.
And there is an order in which you would liquidate your assets. And I do understand that people might, even just as a habit, they will sell the Bitcoin, well, the cryptos first. They'll sell their shitcoins first, and then the Bitcoin second. And if you still need to sell, you sell your shares and your S&P or whatever. And then if that's not enough, you'll sell the gold that grandpa gave you, and the house goes last, right? I do understand there's an order. So I guess we end up feeling this amplification of the markets in general, simply because we're first. But this could also be a good thing, because it means people are a bit quick to react.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also mean that when people have excess funds, they are very, very quick to look at crypto. Like I was talking to somebody just now, a friend of mine I haven't seen in a long time at a coffee shop, and he was saying he inherited a house and he was wondering what to do. And as usual, I said, I'm just not going to tell you anything. There's no way. But I could tell he was looking at the sentiment, the prices, all the things. And he's like, maybe I'll put half in crypto. And I'm like, You're going to put half the whole thing in crypto? Like, that's a lot. But I mean, whatever you like. But it seems, I just think young people, I think when they get some excess money, they're looking at crypto now, which is the positive side.
Even before real estate and before traditional markets like stocks, shares, traditional equities, I don't know like where the demographic cutoff is, but certainly there's a generation of younger people, certainly younger than me, who for whom their very first asset that they've ever bought is a digital asset, and probably a meme coin.
Oh yes.
And so they're not thinking, they're not importing traditional markets perspectives into crypto markets. They don't have any traditional market perspective. They're learning markets in crypto markets as the only market that they know. And so, and then we perhaps have started to see that maybe bleed back into TradeFi a little bit as well, where that generation, or at least that cohort maybe of investors who've only invested in crypto, are like, this is so easy, so instant, so cost effective to do this. Everything should be like this. And then are placing those kinds of demands. And so perhaps, like you were saying before, where the meme coinery is driving technological advancement, it's possible that might even bleed into traditional markets where they're going to have to start making technological and ideological shifts to match the user base. Otherwise, it's going to be all, what retail market's going to be left if every subsequent generation is primarily going into crypto and not into trade markets? Yeah, I think
it's
that's a big shift.
I'm in this group. I don't hold anything except crypto. I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. I don't own any stocks. I don't even know how you buy equity. I have literally no idea. Is it like a website that you go on? Do I need a broker? Like, where would that? I don't understand how any of this boomer stuff works. This is completely foreign to me. People keep saying on TV, there's like the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. I'm like, I know they're tickers, but like, where do you buy it? I guess you can buy it from multiple companies, but like, where is it? Where does it come? I don't care at all. This is the most, it's so ridiculous how convoluted it is. And you got like your broker, and he's calling you all the time because he needs to make more commissions. He's selling you random stuff. And you got, like, what is any of this? I can't believe people are still into that. I completely understand people buying individual shares, like meme stocks and some Nvidia. You got your Apple, your Microsoft, which is amazing. But I'm never going to buy that. Like, what am I going to do? What are these platforms called? Is like E-Trade? Does that still exist? I'm literally never going to do that. It's so complicated. If I can go on a wallet on my phone, if I can go on Backpack and buy Nvidia, which I know nothing about, so I won't. But if it was like that, and I could just go it when I get tired of it, I'll trade it for some dog whiff hat or something. If I could do that, maybe I'll buy some stonks. But it's like, who can be bothered with any of that, really? It's so, compared to what we do, it is completely ancient. I refuse to believe that there's teenagers dealing with this boomer equities.
Certainly not in the same way, to the same degree, or the same kind of volume that they are crypto stocks. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they can, I guess there's apps that make it easier. I know there's one called Robinhood, but I saw that movie they made about the GameStop. I saw that like this weekend. It's called Dumb Money, I think.
Yeah.
And dude, if you trade on Robinhood and it goes well for you, then the exclusive market maker they had called Citadel, which is a huge thing. They just call up Robinhood and they're like, hey, you can't allow people to buy anymore because we're invested in the hedge fund that's short the thing you're longing. So if your users keep longing it, our hedge fund will get liquidated. And you're like, oh yeah, we'll just disable the buy button. That's ridiculous. Like, why would you use that app if your trade goes
third party risk?
That's
for sure.
That's terrible. I could not believe that was true. That's certainly not the case on DeFi. There's no Ken Griffin on DeFi just like turning the whole thing off.
Oh man. What are some of the things that you're most excited about coming into? You said you are bullish on the rest of the year. What are you excited about, either at SideShift or in the market in general? Are there verticals that you're looking at? Are there technological advancements you're really keen to see, or are you expecting to see in the next 6 months to the end of the year, basically? Where are you looking? What has your attention at the moment?
End of the year. That's I think for the end of the year, what we can hope for is that the price goes up and there's airdrops or something, because this is very short term. But in the longer term, I would like to see DeFi on Ethereum wake up a bit. I think this cross-chain collateral and liquidity pool I'm sure there's loads of teams working on this, and it's going to be it's going to be coming. And not because I need it today, but it seems like a completely necessary step in the evolution of this DeFi technology to make it more chain agnostic and then more liquid across chains. And then I would really, really love to see some progress on Bitcoin layer twos. There's quite a few out there. Drive chain's still my favorite, but I just want as many as possible. And the users to the sites, I would love to see Bitcoin layer twos. I would love to see. I want to see Bitcoin layer twos where the fee coin is BTC, and there's no extra coins where it's simply that, because people love to hold Bitcoin, but they also love to do DeFi. So we just need to get these two married, right?
Yep.
And they would also have the security of Ethereum. They would have the security of the mining on Bitcoin,
Yep.
which you can debate. You can debate for a long time how good that is, but I think people intuitively agree that Bitcoin is the most secure, right? So I would really like
layer 2 DeFi summer.
Oh, it was so good. I would love that, and I'm keeping my eyes open for all the Bitcoin layer 2s coming up. But I mean, there's some hype in there as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of going to be some vaporware in the mix. So I'm just going to test absolutely everything that's been built in that one. And for Solana, I don't really have any wishes because that thing is working so good. The whole chain and the ecosystem. Amazing. But it's been working the whole time for like a year now. This Solana being down meme, that's mostly forgotten.
Old news.
Yeah. So super impressive with Solana and all the teams on it, how they're attracting new users, fun use cases, lighthearted but also high tech. It's fantastic.
What do you think what's the key to how do you pull someone from sitting in the cafe, like you just said, the proverbial cafe, trading meme, DeFi and meme coins? How do you turn that person into a builder, like someone who's going to do something on L2? Do we need more builders? Do we have enough? And is the problem actually we're being spread too thin and we need some more consolidation? Or I don't know, man. It strikes me as trading memes is great, but do something with your life as well and contribute to what we're building here.
Yeah, I get it. If there's any builders out there, you can go on SideShift.ai/jobs, and we're hiring for all positions, especially backend engineers at all times. It's a great place to work. That person sitting in the cafe trading meme coins, if she wasn't trading meme coins, she would be betting on sports. If she wasn't betting on sports, she would be playing a slot machine. If she wasn't playing a slot machine, she would be doom scrolling on TikTok. This person is not looking to build something in that moment. This person is looking to entertain themselves, and they just accidentally progressing the technology of blockchain. So of course we need more builders. We always need more builders because that's how we get all these amazing products that we keep seeing every week, right? All of the list of launches in blockchain by the week, it's crazy. There's I'm sure there's hundreds of products being launched every day. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. So we'll always need more builders, but I think trying to convert that person doing a little bit of cheeky day trading on their phone into working in this industry, creating new products, I don't think it's fair to that person. I think we just let them have their fun.
Yeah, man, good perspective. Well, okay, then what would you say? We always like to ask, I guess, do you have any particularly contrarian views? We among our listeners and viewers, we've got a lot of builders, VCs, founders, lots of traders looking for alpha. When you think about the market in general, or just the opportunity for 2024 in general, do you have any particularly controversial or the counter perspective where everyone seems to be flowing this way, but you want to swim up that way? Do you have any views that fit that description?
Well, I mean, with the sentiment at 30 of 100, which is very negative today, I'm just going to say like BTC 100K still in play. If I woke up on December 31st and Ethereum was 10K, I'd be like, oh, cool. I wouldn't be that shocked. Why not? We've seen crazier things. So, so that's on the price. But for example, about meme coins, I don't think it's contrarian. I think most people agree it's harmless fun. I think there's a few negative, very vocal people out there saying meme coins are bad, but I don't think it's contrarian to say that it's positive. And I mean, have you asked me 10 years ago what contrarian view I had? I would say that hyper Bitcoinization is real. It's just going to take over absolutely anything. It's going to be bigger than gold. It's going to be bigger than everything. Mm-hmm. It's going to be held by every treasury in the world next to their foreign currency reserves. It is going to completely dominate over time, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it because you cannot stand in the way of change. You cannot stand in the way of a technology whose time has come. This is just it. So you can join us, or you can watch us win from the sidelines. But
so that also perspective from a decade ago is materializing now. That's what I want to know. What is your other contrarian?
Not contrarian. You can say that to somebody who doesn't know much about crypto today, and they're like, "Oh yeah, sounds reasonable."
Yeah. So what's your one for the next 10 years?
For the next 10 years, what I wish for, that's not the next 10 years, that's soon. But I would love to see widespread use of prediction markets. Okay. Decentralized prediction markets used for absolutely everything. And when prediction markets are used correctly, and if somebody watching or listening is interested in this, they can go read up on some writing from Paul Stortz, which has a project called Bitcoin Hive Mind, and they can understand the unbelievable potential of prediction markets to not only forecast risk and probabilities, but to actually change the world around us by giving people information, which in turn empowers them to make change. And it would just make the world such a much, much better place. I mean, if you had enough prediction markets, just have you'd get close to world peace, because everyone would understand the incentives so clearly that any leader promoting war would never be reelected, because the prediction market would let the voters kick him out by voting with their money.
Right.
So that's what I want.
Okay. Can you maybe? What's the mechanism of that? Is it because more information leads to better decision making, or is it because people make better decisions together? I don't know if that's necessarily historically accurate, or is it a factor of power being distributed amongst people rather than centralized at the top? What do you think is the mechanism there with regard to prediction markets?
Yeah, it's you get this strange effect when you combine two prediction markets. So if you have one prediction market, you can have one prediction market called who's going to be the next president of the US. And the options are Biden, Trump, and Elon Musk. And the market will assign odds, which we call probabilities, to these three outcomes. And if you think the odds are incorrect, then you can place a bet. So if you think you got the alpha, then you place a bet. And when you turn out to be more correct in the market and your assigning of probabilities, you get paid. Mm-hmm. You straight up get paid. So anybody who's looking to manipulate this market to make it seem like one thing is more likely than another, over time they will lose all their money. It's much more profitable to be right. Look at any bookie; they have to assign the correct probabilities to stay alive. So that is interesting in its own. But what if you create a second prediction market that says, will the GDP of the United States be higher or lower than today in 4 years? So you make a second market, right? And the options are higher and lower, and they have probabilities. Now, if you take these two prediction markets, now you have two, and you line them up with each other in a matrix, then you'll have options, which will be, you'll have different outcomes of the world. And one will be called Biden wins GDP up, Biden wins GDP down. Trump wins GDP up, Trump wins GDP down. Elon wins GDP up, Elon wins GDP down. And with some pretty easy math, when you combine these probabilities, what this matrix, this grid will tell you is that if your goal is to increase the GDP, you need to not only vote for Elon Musk, you will in fact need to get him to run, because the market agrees this will maximize the probability of an increase in GDP, which is highly correlated to all kinds of prosperity. So, but then you can say, okay, I don't care about the GDP. I have enough money. I'm good. I have other priorities. Okay, so let's not do GDP. Why don't we say child mortality is up or down, and combine these? So, who do I have to vote for to minimize child mortality? Or what about if we don't do that one, but if it's something more positive? What if we just make it like happiness in the population as assessed by something we can measure? Or what if you make it how many can read and write at a certain level? So, I mean, just asking intuitively, what do you think? Well, is GDP in America likely to go up? Is that higher if Elon Musk was the president or if Joe Biden was president? What do you think?
For me personally, between those two,
Yeah.
I'd probably pick Elon.
Yeah, me too. Nobody would pick anything else.
This is directly transferable to everything, but he's certainly proven it's true in many things.
Yeah, we're talking probabilities. We're not talking concrete things. So anybody looking at these probabilities will be like, oh my God, I have to change what I'm doing. I have to vote on this guy instead of this guy. Because clearly it's that would do what I want. Right?
Sure.
And in this way, assigning correct probabilities and understand how they work when they're combined leads to information that is so powerful that it actually causes you to act, which is causing change in the world. And because most people want to do good for the world with the information and the resources they have at hand, this will just solve all of our problems.
All right, that's a good view. That's a big view, a good view. Andreas, if someone wants to find out more about SideShift.ai or to hear from you more, where can they find you online?
Yeah, they can obviously go on SideShift.ai. And like I said before, if you're looking for a job in industry, which is the best industry on this planet, then you should check that out. And if you want to read more from me, I'm on Twitter. My username, which I'm sure you can link, is ABRKN. And I publish a newsletter about the memes and fun things and ongoing in this industry at shitcoin.com/newsletter, which is, as of this week, is also published on Arthur Hayes' blog under Maelstrom. We've been at it for 299 weeks in a row, so we're going pretty strong.
Andreas, man, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
If we were going longer, I would love to pick apart some of the stuff you're talking about at the end. Dive deep into that because it sounds super interesting. But all the best with SideShift.ai. Thank you so much for being a good voice and a positive voice in the industry. And look forward to seeing your predictions come true for the rest of the year.
Thank you. I mean, talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I feel even more bullish than when we started. So this is great. Thank you.
Good on you, man. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Off-Chain Podcast. We love bringing you great guests like Andreas. Hope we've inspired you to think about the future, about Web3, about technology, and how you might be a part of it. As always, like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word, and join us again next week for another great episode of the Off-Chain Podcast. Till then, take care.